Properties. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. We do apologize for the late start today, but we are here for round number 12 in the Hungarian Grand Prix for Season 18. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me, as usual, it is Andy.
Justin, good to be back. Like yourself, I think we both missed out last week, but yeah, good to be back in amongst it. We are slightly late in qualifying, but we are here for the business end of things, and that's all that matters. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix, it's qualifying. It really is a track where qualifying is very, very, very important. It's like Monaco without the barriers around this tight, twisty circuit. I'm sure the closing moments of this session will be very, very exciting. Let's get a look then at some of the guys out there on quick laps. Pinecone, Justin, is just starting his final lap of the session. Let's pick up him. A couple of things we should note. WRZ or ZVX, that is drying up.
There's the business end of things, as Andy said, so we're getting straight into it, but Pinecone was second quickest on his initial runs anyway. As he takes that right-hander a little bit wrong, and he is going to back out of it, so that, yeah, he's not going to be continuing that lap. Valache Alonso is on a quick one at the moment, as there's less than a minute remaining until the checkered flag comes out. He's on a quick one too, as I mentioned before. So Alonso is going to be looking to have a solid result here, if possible. Always great to see Sonic back in the league and racing on the Xbox platform and everything like that. So fantastic to see that he has returned to the warm bosom during today's broadcast. I'm not sure what that is. I might be able to fix it after qualifying is over, but
nearly 2 tenths, a tenth and a half. The final corner now in that Alfa Romeo. Surprise, the championship leader, leading by 36 points in the title race. And is he going to go quicker? Yes, he is. A one-ter timing being now. Let's have a look at the time. Oh, he's a fraction quicker than his previous best, but there's no way, surely, he's going to find 4 tenths to top a surprise in that final sector.
Yeah, there's really not many corners in the final sector, obviously, in Hungary, so to find 4 tenths through there would be pretty impressive, especially considering he has a lap old tires as well after abandoning that first lap. So yeah, that would be really something special if he did manage to pull that out. Here comes the 14, here comes the 15. It is going to be a 15.136. He doesn't improve, 24 thousandths of a second slower than what he was able to manage previously. So it is going to be Valache Surprise on pole position. With that, that is a fairly dominant display from Surprise there.
It's actually an exceptional performance from Surprise. It suggests to me that he's been putting in a little bit more practice than the others. Either that, or he's just simply hooked the lap up perfectly, or others haven't, because that is a mammoth gap to have over the likes of Pinecone and Leopard, who have been keeping him honest in this championship race. Yeah, so to be that far ahead is quite ominous. Very impressive stuff there from Valache Surprise, and he's looking good to tighten his grip at the top of the championship. As I mentioned earlier, myself and Justin, we weren't here last week, but of course Jess filling in kindly for us with she witnessed that Valache Surprise victory with Pinecone second and Leopard third, and that's how there's a 36-point gap between Surprise and Leopard in the standings, and that gap slowly beginning to open, and there is the final results from qualifying. Valache Surprise, as I mentioned, quickest of all by 3 and a bit tenths of a second. Pinecone in second with that 151. Leopard comes home in third position, almost 4 tenths shy. Terrell Martin in a solid 4th place. All Williams in the top 10, Justin. So hopefully Pinecone and Leopard can be a little bit quicker on race trim, because if they're not, Surprise could be running away with this one, Justin.
Yeah, we hope that's not the case. Obviously, we want to see a good race at the front for the win. Now, I am going to see what I can do about my connection issues. There is that rain that we spoke about earlier already on the screen. But yeah, I'm going to see if there's anything I can do to help these connection issues without, completely restarting my internet. So we're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you guys. All right, guys, I was not able to find anything that I could do in order to try and improve my connection, unfortunately, so we're going to have to run with what we got. and just hope for the best, but I am dropping a lot of frames, so I do apologize for that, guys. I haven't had any problems with my internet all day, and then as soon as I start streaming Apex Online Racing, that's when my issues crop up. But we can have one last quick run-through of the field. Again, it is Surprise on pole position. Pinecone will be starting alongside him. Leopard in third, the championship contender. TRL Martin in the other Alfa Romeo joins Leopard on the second row of the grid. And P1R Brown and Velace Alonso locking out that third row, as Andy mentioned earlier. Then it's Jason 97 F1. How are we pronouncing Verstappen's new name? What were you giving it?
I mean, I really just want to call him Verstappen. You know that. but, I mean,
Zitvix.
Do we just call him Zit?
I guess.
I mean, it's not much of a name, Zit, but I mean, what else am I meant to do? I mean, we'll brush up on that for next week. So for this week, we'll just call him Zit. Will we? Is that what
we can always ask him. We can ask him for next week. But yeah, we're just gonna go with Zit for right now. I think is the right one. But yeah, that's not a super appealing name. I wouldn't want to be called Zit if that was me personally. But
and I certainly wouldn't. Well, if he wants to be called Zit VX, he can get lost, because I'm not calling him that. Zit VX, no chance. That is a tongue twister, Justin, isn't it?
Yeah, that's too many syllables. Too many syllables in a name, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, well. Well, anyway, I mean, I suppose, Justin, thinking back to that qualifying lap there then from Veloce Surprise, 3 and a bit tenths quicker, perhaps is he running a drier setup than maybe Pinecone and Leopard, and that might explain the distance between them? Because, that's, as I mentioned, it's such a big gap, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. It wouldn't surprise me. Again, you did say that it is predicted to rain at the start and then dry up later on in the race, so it wouldn't surprise me if Surprise is actually just planning on running that setup specifically for the second half of the race, because also it has the added benefit of giving him that good qualifying position as well. So potentially that could be his thinking here, but that could put him under threat as we get racing here in Hungary. We've got 5 lights, and we're away for the Hungarian Grand Prix, Season 18 of the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. It looks like a good start for TRL Martin. He's actually already overhauled Leopard as they stream their way down towards Turn 1. Leopard later on the brakes, though, in that Red Bull will have to go around the outside of Martin. Surprise is going to maintain that lead ahead of Pinecone, though, as they make their way down towards Turn 2. Leopard and Martin still side by side. Inside line now for Leopard into the next left-hander here. Oh, and that's very wide for TRL Martin. He is going to lose him another position to Alonso, who's already made up one position on P1R Brown, who actually finds himself way down in last. I'm not sure what happened with Brown, but he finds himself way down in 14th position. Alonso gaining positions, though, up into 4th. Martin down into 5th. Zit up into 6th. Jason in 7th. Amazed 8th. Frangush and Bobberts. Danny dropping down into 11th or 12th position briefly, but getting back ahead of John Pap 183. And that is how things are looking. But I'm not seeing any major issues. Again, P1R Brown dropped all the way down to last, which he's now debating with LCR Mulder. However, no major incidents on the opening lap, which is great, especially when you consider these conditions.
Absolutely, Justin. It's that bad. I couldn't even tell you what happened to P1R Brown out there. The wall of spray made it impossible for me to know. I'm looking at his car now. I don't see any sign of any front wing damage, so I don't think he's made any major contact with anyone. Perhaps a slide wide or something like that. Speaking of slides, Mulder there, just coming out of that corner, had a big slide, nearly ended up bouncing down into the barrier there, but he's got away with it. He has though surrendered the position to P1R Brown and drops back to 14th, and very nearly replicating what your favourite Formula 1 driver once did in a practice session, Justin, and doing a barrel roll, but thankfully it wasn't to be, and Mulder carries on in his way in 14th place. But yeah, a very clean, good start to the race, and it's the perfect start for Surprise out front. Let's find out then over the next few laps if he is running a drier setup and if he is going to struggle for pace. But so far, so good for the championship leader, isn't it?
Yeah, 1.1 seconds, nearly 1.2 seconds now between Surprise and Pinecone as they start the second lap of this Hungarian Grand Prix. It is still very tight outside of the top 2, though, with Leopard keeping within 0.6 of Pinecone. Alonso not that far back either. Lots of drivers, in fact, within DRS zones. The only ones not within the DRS zone would be Pinecone and Mulder, who are just outside of it as the moment. But of course, no DRS going to be active anytime soon, considering the current conditions that we have on track. It is still full wets out there as the rain continues to fall here in Hungary as they make their way through the chicane now. And it looks like Surprise continuing to stretch those legs, extending the gap up at the front now, almost 1.5 seconds between himself and Pinecone. Leopard sticking to the back of that Mercedes very well, though, in these tricky conditions.
Surprise, looking pretty strong, isn't he? I mean, in all conditions, he just really is. I mean, we've got to be honest. He is the top dog on Xbox. Oh, somebody's off the track, Justin. Somebody's way off the track. It's Alonso, way off down there at the end of that second sector. I thought he was bouncing off into the barrier there almost. He was so close to going into the wall. I think he just about got away with it, but he was way off in the runoff area, and he rejoins the track in 5th position. But I just saw that at the top of the shot there. But he has rejoined the racetrack in 5th position. But a hairy moment there for Alonso, perhaps losing the rear end and very nearly finding himself bouncing into the barrier. He gets away with it though, but he now has Zit all over the back of him as they head down on lap 335 down towards turn 1. Is he going to go for a look at up the inside? No, he's not. He'll stay put and stay in 6th place. Alonso now running really deep into that first corner, really struggling to get any kind of rhythm in these tricky conditions. And Zet now is climbing all over the back of him. He's going down the inside into turn 2. Slight contact between them, and they're still trading paint as they just about creep their way through turns number 2 and 3. It's so tricky in these conditions. The slightest tap could send another car spinning, but they just about keep it all together. And Alonso holds on to 5th place for the moment, Justin. Wow, that was close.
Yeah, sweaty stuff for Sonic in his first race back, but Zit's gone very, very wide, actually, through turn 5. That's going to put Jason 97 F1 alongside him on the run down into the chicane, but no, he can't quite make that move or thought better about it. That is a bit of a dangerous place, especially in these conditions, to try to make an overtake. It's very tight through that chicane, obviously. So Jason deciding he'd rather not try to go side by side with Zit, again, formerly WOR Verstappen, who has taken on a new name. Or at least new to us. I didn't see if he had it in the previous race, I'm going to be honest. Oh, that was a big moment in the background there for Franglish, I think that was. Yeah, that was Franglish in the background, just losing the back end through turn 11.
Just taking 2nd place from Pinecone, Justin. What corner was that? I think that was down at the end of the lap, down at turn 12 we made that move there. So a tidy move there. I don't know if it was tidy. I caught it last minute, but he dived up the inside on Pinecone and has taken that 2nd place away. And that will please the race leader, Veloci Surprise. And Pinecone fancies coming straight back at him down into turn 1. He tries the inside, switches back to the outside. Ooh. Leopard's overcooked it, gone too deep, and Pinecone will not need a second invitation. He flies back through up into 2nd place, and Leopard, too hot on the brakes, drops back to 3rd. So all that hard work done there from the youngster is gone. And now he's got Martin for company in 4th.
Yeah, Martin's right on his case, on the case of the Red Bull, so he could be potentially looking to make an overtake as they have extended the gap down to Alonso after all those issues that were going on and battling that was going on in the midfield. It's now almost 3 seconds between Martin and Alonso, so Martin really doesn't have to think about any of the cars behind him at this stage of the race anyway, considering the gap that he has behind. But Surprise with an even bigger gap. It's now almost 4 seconds that Surprise holds over the Mercedes of Pinecone, and we're not even done with the 4th lap yet, so depending on what the gap is at the end of this lap, we're looking at basically a second per lap that Veloce Surprise is managing to pull out on the rest of this field, which is just absolutely incredible. I do see there's a lot of battling going on a bit lower, just outside the top 10 at the moment. Oh, as it looks like Zit has had an issue. Where is he? He's in the grass somewhere. Where is this, actually? I can't even tell where he is. Oh, he's turned around. That explains why I can't see where he is. Oh!
Turn 10, Justin. Oh, and that's the Ferrari of Danny as well.
Yeah.
Bundling across the grass and with a front wing damage as well. So Danny just arrived on the scene and had his own moment, I think, there. But Zit, yeah, he lost it by the looks of it going through turn 10. It's easy to lose it there, especially in these conditions with the traction control off, as everyone has in this tier. And he's obviously had a moment, gone off into the barrier. And then, what about Danny there? Did he try and avoid Zit as he rejoined, or did he have his own moment? I'm not too sure.
I'm not entirely sure. I think he may have just been thrown off by the racing point as Leopard fails again to get back past Pinecone. I think he was just thrown off by the racing point being there. And, as Danny picks up a 5-second 5-second time penalty and retires the car as well. So that's unfortunate. We've got our first retirement of the session after only 4 laps. Oh, side by side for Pinecone and Leopard into turn 4. That is scary stuff. Leopard definitely seems like the faster of the 2 cars at the moment, but Pinecone doing a fantastic job of holding on to that position for the meantime. And this is just playing right into the hands of Surprise as Leopard now shoots up the inside into that chicane. I said it was so difficult to overtake there. I thought he was going to get it done, but he goes a bit deep. That's going to allow Pinecone to come back at him. They're side by side into the left-hander of turn 8. Again, side by side through turn 9, around the outside for the Red Bull of Leopard, and it looks like he is finally going to get that position, moves himself back up into second position, and Martin as well, lurking in the background here, just trying to see if there's any positions to be gained. And look what this has done, actually. Alonso in the background there going off the circuit. That's at the exit of turn 11, but that's brought him right back to just about within striking distance. He's only 1.1 seconds behind TRL Martin. Oh, Martin and Pinecone side by side. Thank you for pointing that out, Andy. And Martin has done it. He makes his way past Pinecone, and I wonder at this point if Pinecone has any sort of front wing damage. No, I'm seeing both end plates on that Mercedes, so it doesn't look like any damage. It just looks like a general lack of pace for the young Mercedes driver. And now he's got Alonso on his case as well.
You know, you got to wonder, is Pinecone the man that's got the dry setup on, because he really is struggling for pace, falling off the back of Surprise at some rate of knots, and then he's been attacked by Leopard and Martin and been swamped up, and through they go up into second place. I have to say, though, it was great racing in these such tricky conditions. I said it at the top of the show, this is like Monaco without the barriers, and you know, it was absolutely brilliant to see Leopard and Pinecone fighting hard for so long through the middle part of the lap, which for so often is single file. As we lose Zip from the Grand Prix, we've already lost Danny, and we're down to 12 runners. But look at the gap. Veloci Surprise has opened out over 7 seconds in 6 laps. 6 laps. That is astonishing. Justin, this has got to be bringing back memories from Surprise in the esports qualifiers this year, when he was building big gaps in wet conditions. Was it Japan he was doing it on? Sure
Spa was where, and yes, and in Japan as well too. No, you're right about that. Actually, Japan, he showed his wet prowess, and at Spa as well when he had that fight back in the wet weather conditions. Well,
he's showing that he is really quick here again. You know, all that thought that I had perhaps of them having that 3/10 advantage in qualifying, being down to maybe having a dry setup or a different setup has been thrown out the window. He's absolutely flying and leaving them all for dead. And Leopard actually is coming into the pits here on lap 6. And Martin, what's going on here?
And Pinecone as well, and Alonso.
Inters it must be then. I didn't think that it improved the track by much. Obviously it has, because Jason and Franglish have already been in for Inters, so this is really going to spice things up then. Who's going to win in the battle between the pit crews here, Justin?
Yeah, this will be interesting to see how this works out. This could play into their hands as far as getting a bit closer to Surprise, but again, the gap that he held coming into this phase of the race was so large. I really don't think it's going to make much of a difference by just staying out one lap later. Also, ESR Amazed stayed out another lap. I do believe. Hold on, let me just make sure he didn't change tires or anything like that. No, he didn't. Okay, thank God. Yeah, P1R Brown and Mulder, so all 4 of those guys still out there on the wet weather tires. Safe to assume they're probably going to be coming in this lap, you would say.
I would think so, as the track begins to dry. It's drying very quickly, I have to be said. I didn't expect to see Inters this soon, given how much of a deluge it was. As Amazed, I've just seen flashes across the chicane, really struggling on those wet tyres, which are just not finding the amount of water they need to function properly at the minute. So they're just tippy-toeing around D and Surprise on the racetrack at the moment. Maybe we should shuffle to Martin, who's right in there fighting with Jason and Leopard. Quite a scrap going on there. So Leopard managed to get himself ahead of Jason, and Martin stuck behind Jason, and Jason's been in the pit. So Jason has made up massive amounts of places here, hasn't he, Justin?
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
He's going to be net third here.
Yes, he is. It should be pretty impressive. Wow. Oh, as Alonso has picked up a 3-second time penalty. Easy to pick up, though, I would assume, in these conditions with how tricky it can be. But it does seem that it is time for the Inters for sure, as Surprise and Amaze both come into the pits as well. Will we see Mulder and Brown? Yes, they do follow suit as well. It's their turn to get rid of the wet weather compound and put on a set of intermediates. And we'll see how long those are going to go for. And let's see where Surprise is going to feed out. He's already fed out, and I think, is Jason actually going to be second?
Third.
No. Yeah, third. Okay, yeah, because he was still behind Leopard. But yeah, so the gap did come down. It's now just 5.3 seconds between Surprise and Leopard, but it was over 7 seconds before. So I would have been really surprised if Surprise lost that gap just from staying out 1 lap extra. And it did seem pretty wet out there still. So he lost a couple of seconds, but nothing too major.
You got to say, Jason's showing some great ability in the wet conditions. He's following up that second place, his only other podium so far this season, in what was a washout in Austria as well. So Jason coming to form again in the damp conditions with that third place. Can he maintain it as the track continues to dry? That will be the challenge for him. It will be a hefty challenge, especially with the likes of Pinecone and Martin tucked up behind him. And we know what they're capable of, Justin, don't we? So, you know, Jason doing well to get up into that third place, but can he maintain it? That's the big question after that early stop and stealing a march on the rest of the field.
I'm on board with Martin because, of course, he's going to be looking to. He probably thinks that he's quicker than Jason. You know, I know Martin is a very quick driver, and I'd say historically, anyway, he's kind of been on the hunt for wins more often than Jason has, anyway. But again, the wet weather prowess that we saw from Jason in Austria makes me want to believe. Now, with that said, there are a lot of laps still to go. We're only just finishing lap 8 and starting lap 9. So that means that we still have 27 laps of racing. So it's not going to be easy for Jason as far as holding on to that third place position. He certainly doesn't seem to be pressuring Leopard for second place with about a 1.6 second gap at the moment. But he is doing a good job staying in front of Martin. I saw a bit of a wiggle from him on the previous lap. He's missing his apex there through the left-hander of turn 2, but so did Martin. Nothing too catastrophic there. But yeah, I did see a bit of a wiggle on the back end of Jason through sector 2 of the previous lap. Whereas Martin, I haven't really seen too many moments as far as losing traction or anything like that. Again, Jason's off the track there coming out of turn 4, but Martin's off the track as well too. So it seems that anywhere Jason is making a minor mistake, Martin is doing the same thing. And that's doing bits for Jason as far as keeping in front of Martin. Oh, there we go. Martin actually losing the back end coming out of that chicane. That was the exact same spot where I saw Jason lose the back end on the previous lap. So at the moment, Jason's definitely looking strong. Again, he is losing a lot of time to Leopard. Leopard's maintaining the gap to Surprise, but for all we know, Surprise is actually just maintaining the gap to Leopard, not the other way around.
Absolutely, Justin. I just want to touch on what you were saying there about Jason making a mistake and Martin following on. It's so easy to do in these damp conditions. You know, you don't have as much visibility. You know, you're following the other car in front. You're using it as a reference point. So if your reference moves and breaks that a little bit later than before, you automatically brake later than before, because sometimes you can't, make out those static things at the side of the racetrack, such as a brake marker or something in the crowd or something in the grandstand that helps you with a braking point. So sometimes if the car in front does that, you find yourself following them off in sympathy, and that's exactly what we've seen so far from Martin as he follows Jason round. But yeah, as you say, Surprise at the moment, 5.6. I mean, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to reel a gap like that into someone of a Surprise's quality. But whether he's managing it or Leopard's just keeping him pinned there, I'm not too sure, but it's looking very, very good at the moment. The real fight, it really is shaping up though for that final podium spot, because as it continues to dry, you would think that Jason's pace would tail off, and the likes of Martin, Pinecone and Alonso are certainly going to be looking pretty quick. And a special shout out to Bobberts in 7th too. He started right down on the back row of the grid. He's up to 7th place and he's clinging on to the back of this podium group. So a great job there from the Ferrari driver as well.
We've said before about how Bobberts is, he's shown good pace in the past. He's not the most reliable of drivers, and he's run into some issues when going side by side and that kind of stuff. So he's certainly not the most reliable of drivers, but we have seen good pace from Bobberts in the past, right around where he is right now, actually, in about just outside the top 5 essentially, but firmly inside the top 10. We've seen this kind of stuff from Bobberts before. What we really need is to see him to start convert things, because we've seen him in this position in races countless times. But finishing in this position at races is a whole nother story for Bobberts, and that's really what we want to see from him. We want to see him converting these good race positions into good race finishing positions and bringing home those points. Because but I mean, certainly there are positives to take away for Bobberts. I forget, is this his first season? I still think this is his first season, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I think it is.
But I mean, I think another thing I've noted, another pattern. We spoke about Jason in the wet weather. Bobbert's best performance this season also came in that wet race in Austria, where he came home in 6th place. So, wet conditions again going well for Bobberts. This would be his second best result with 7th, but with it all bunched up in front of him, he's going to fancy his chances of getting an extra few places and making this his best performance of the season. So again, just like Jason, the wet weather favouring SSR Bobberts.
Yep, it certainly seems that way, as we've been very focused, really, on this battle for third position. We've been on board with Martin this entire time, but it does look like P1R Brown is pressuring Mulder for 11th position, just outside of the points, with only 12 drivers remaining in this race. But we do have this train of cars, basically from Jason all the way down to Bobberts, is all very, very close between all these. In fact, there you can see them. You can see all of them coming into the shot as they stream their way down into, I think that's turn 12, if I remember correctly. It sure is. So yeah, it's a very tight group that we got here at the moment. Oh, it looks like Alonso missing his apex a little bit there, losing some time to Pinecone. In fact, it's now over 1 second. Bobberts could be looking to pressure him on the run down towards turn 1. He's the closest out of everybody in this group. P1R Brown wasn't able to make that overtake on the Toro Rosso of LCR Mulder, but could be looking to do the same thing into turn 1, same as Bobberts. Bobberts didn't get close enough, and Martin wasn't able to get close enough. Ditto for Pinecone. Alonso starting to close back in to the back of Pinecone after losing a little bit of time through sectors 2 and 3 of the previous lap. Again, Alonso just going that little bit wide. His car does seem a little bit on the slidey side compared to Bobberts, who we're on board with at the moment. But no moves being made just yet. Again, Tyrrell Martin is looking pretty close to the back of Jason 97 F1. Still have more than half of the race still to go, so still plenty of laps for these guys to make up positions. So, you know, really, they got to be cautious here. Make sure they're going for moves that, as Franglish picks up a 3-second time penalty. They want to be making sure that they're going for moves that they know are going to work and not, compromising their own races and that kind of stuff. It's a difficult spot to be in, but Alonso has closed back up to Pinecone, so we are back into a train from Jason down to Bobberts, everybody within 1 second of each other. As John Papp now picking up a 3-second time penalty. Seems it's that time of the race for people to start doing some track extending or cutting or whatever the offense might be. But coming to the end of the lap now. Again, just up at the front, Surprise continues to hold just over a 5-second gap. That really hasn't changed much between Surprise and Leopard. Continues to set fastest laps as well, though, does Valache Surprise. So, I'm not so sure that he's just managing the gap to Leopard. I think Leopard is legitimately on the same sort of pace as Surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably. I just feel, 5.8. It's just a race management for both of them. I feel like Leopard is the one that needs to force it a little bit more. Force the initiative, try and make Surprise to do what you've just mentioned there, picking up penalties that you're seeing from others. If you can pick up a couple, then Leopard's back in the game. So, I don't think Surprise will want to take any risks like that. His damp conditions, he'll not want to go spinning on a curb, and he'll not want to be picking up penalties like we're seeing from the likes of Franglish and co. So, I don't think he'll be too bothered whether Leopard does eat into that gap. And things looking pretty good for the top two out front, looking strong, solid, like they will be first and second unless something crazy happens. Behind that, though, it's an absolute lottery. And I have to say, Justin, going from what I've been watching so far, I think Alonso will be the most pleased out of everyone in this group to see the track dry out because, he has been sliding everywhere. You mentioned it earlier. He just doesn't seem to be feeling totally confident with the car underneath him in these damp conditions. I've seen him off the road, nearly in the wall at turn, through this corner, through turn 11 at one point, locking up, going wide from time to time, and he's had Bobberts climbing all over him a couple of times too. And speaking of which, Bobberts there, that was a harum-scarum moment there for him, but thankfully he gets away with it and doesn't end up bouncing into the barrier. So yeah, I think Alonso and perhaps Bobberts as well now will be happy to see the track dry out.
His car is red, but I have a feeling that his seat is brown right now because that was a big moment coming out of turn 11 for Bobberts. And as you pointed out, the barrier is not that far away coming out of turn 11 either. It is right there, ready to welcome you if you make any sort of mistake. And he kind of overcorrected and started going back towards the barrier, which was a very scary moment for him, but he does manage to keep everything pointing in the right direction. He does lose a significant amount of time to Valache Alonso up ahead, though. In fact, Alonso's not with Valache anymore, though. He actually separated from Valache earlier this year. I only know that because, of course, I do the social media for Valache, so I keep on top of that sort of stuff. But I guess he just hasn't changed his gamer tag just yet, so I'll just call him Alonso. Honestly, we should just call him Sonich, but yeah, I'll just call him Alonso for the meantime. But Bobbert's beginning to close back in now. It really does seem almost like Jason and Martin, and maybe even Pinecone, are sort of like the slowest in this group. Because anytime a large gap begins to form, it sort of closes right back in. Now, that could be entirely down to Jason's pace, because of course he is leading this entire train, and we can see just how much slower Jason is compared to Leopard, because remember, it was less than 2 seconds after the switch to intermediates between Leopard and Jason. It's now 6.7 seconds, so we're talking about a 5-second gap increase between Leopard and Jason ever since switching onto the intermediates, which was like 10 laps ago now. So Leopard at the moment, I would say, is about probably about a half a second a lap faster compared to Jason 97 F1. So, as we've lost John Papp, can I find out what happened to him? Did he just come into the pits to retire?
Mulders overtook him in turn 13, the penultimate corner. So I presume he's either pulled over and retired there, or he's actually crashed. I'm not too sure what's happened to John Papp, Justin, but he is out of the race, and that's now 3 retirements. He joins Zit and Danny F31 on the sidelines. But, you know, as you were saying about this battle up front, Jason, yeah, I would say he is the slowest out of the group. You know, Jason, he's not known, and you know, I've got to be honest, he's not known for raw speed. He's known for great consistency, keeping it all together and coming home and getting the good result. He's known for being solid in the damp conditions as well when others falter. So, you know, he's in that position now. This won't faze him to have all these cars chasing him down. They're really going to have to try and catch him out, because nothing phases Jason. He's got nerves of steel. You can pressure him all race long. He won't go wide. He won't make a mistake, as Martin himself now makes a mistake, goes wide through turn 11, and he's now going to have Pinecone right on his tail, and that'll give Jason a little bit of respite. But yeah, Justin, Jason for me, the slowest in the group, but he doesn't make many mistakes. And if you want to get past him in damp conditions without DRS on a track where it's already difficult to overtake, you're really going to have to get quite inventive. Perhaps as inventive as we saw Leopard earlier on when battling with Pinecone.
Yeah, potentially, or somebody might be able to catch him out as far as the strategy is concerned. But again, a very wise old head on Jason 97 F1. He's been doing this for a lot of years, doing sim racing and specifically the Codemasters F1 games. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't count on him making a mistake. In fact, if I'm one of the drivers, especially when you consider how many people he jumped after that pit stop phase, switching over to the intermediates. If I'm one of the drivers that's in the train behind him, I'm going to pit whatever lap he pits on. That's when I'm going to be going in. I'm not going to be looking to do the opposite. You know, come in if he stays out, stay out if he comes in. Nope, I'm probably just going to do whatever Jason does, to be totally honest. Just talking about the gap at the front, though, that has really started to open up now. Surprise finding about 1.5 seconds over Leopard, as this track is really starting to dry now. The rain is really not falling very hard at this point. There is still precipitation in the air that is still falling on the circuit, but it's not the same sort of thing. So it really does seem to be drying out here. We did know that there was going to be a dry period at the end of the race. We didn't know exactly how long it was going to be, or when people might be switching onto the different tire compounds. Oh, it looked like another big moment for Bobberts in the background there, coming out of turn 11. So that continues to be a thorn in his side. But at the moment, it is still very much intermediate conditions. I'm not expecting a switch over onto slicks, at least for another handful of laps or thereabouts, but we are coming up rapidly now to the halfway point of this Hungarian Grand Prix for Season 18 of AOR. And yeah, not a lot of movement going on in this field. But not, you know, as you pointed out, Andy, no major mistakes that we're seeing, not just from Jason, but from the other guys. We have seen mistakes, but nothing major, you know, especially considering these conditions. It's very easy to lock up and go straight off the track, you know, lose a number of positions, that sort of thing. We're seeing minor mistakes here. The last one that we saw was from Alonso, but he closed back in relatively quickly. Didn't really lose all that much time. So really good driving we're seeing from everybody, but unfortunately not a lot of overtakes.
Not much in the way of overtaking. I think this is a little bit of a, you know, just consolidate what we've got phase of the race. Don't pick up any time penalties. You know, one penalty will drop Jason, for example, all the way down to 7th place. So, you know, they just want to keep things together at this moment in time. The track's changing lap by lap as it dries. You know, the reference points are different lap by lap. So maybe everyone just wants to keep it all under control for now, and then we'll get into the real battle, the storm, later on as we get towards the halfway point of this Grand Prix. And, you know, I was slightly surprised, Justin, that we're still on inters at this stage, because after 6 laps, when I seen people coming in for inters, I thought it would maybe just be another 6 or 7 and then we'll be on the dries. But no, it's been quite a lengthy period on the inters, although we are now starting to see real differences in the lap times, real differences in the track conditions. It looks a lot clearer, a lot more visible now, and we can only be a handful of laps away, no more than that, from a set of dry tyres. And then things could get really interesting, because, you know, Jason just sitting there at the moment, he has made the fewest mistakes out of everyone. I don't think he's put a foot wrong at all yet. Any slide, any kind of mistake at all, he's kept it all under control. And you know, he's driving a solid race. We should mention Alonso's now 2 seconds off the back of Pinecone, and I'm not too sure why. Has he had a moment on that lap? Perhaps he has, because Bobberts is now right on his tail.
Yeah, I think he did coming out of turn 11 because Bobberts made an overtake attempt into turn 12, which Alonso was able to you know back at him. He was able to defend that position and hold on to 6th place. But the whatever mistake he made, when you combine it with the fact that he had to defend the position into turn 12 and go side by side with Bobberts, that lost them a lot of time. And then Alonso went extremely deep into the final corner as well too. That lost him even more time as well. So yeah, that's how Alonso lost so much time. He's gone very, very deep again into turn 8. He can't seem to find his apex through turn 9. He was at least half a meter off the apex off of turn 9 through there. Let's see how he goes. Again, way off the apex. He's gone very, very deep at the exit of turn 11. That's again going to put Bobberts right onto the back of him into the braking zone for turn 12. Alonso is able to stay ahead for the meantime, but unfortunately for him, that gap is growing and growing. It's now almost 3 seconds between Pinecone and Alonso. You can see how much the Williams is struggling at this stage, and in fact, he is going to pull off into the pits. He is going to fit a set of the slick compound tires. He's going to go for a set of the dries, and this has really, unfortunately, hurt Bobberts as well, too, because he wasn't able to get past Alonso, and now he has an over 3 second gap to try to overcome between himself and Pinecone, and we know how fast Pinecone is, of course, and how few mistakes he makes, and Martin and Jason as well, so it's a tough spot for Bobberts as well, as he was stuck behind Alonso when that happened, and it is indeed going to be a set of the medium compound tires for the Williams driver, Valache Alonso. Why do I keep saying Valache? For Alonso, for Sonic. And Franglish has followed him in. He's going on to a set of the mediums. P1R Brown is into the pits as well in the other Williams. And let's see if he's going to go onto the mediums. He is indeed going to go onto the mediums. So it seems a number of drivers coming in. We still don't know if it was the right call or not. Really, wherever Pinecone comes out relative to Alonso will tell us whether or not he's made the right call.
Just keeping a look at that, Alonso now as he makes his way through the first sector. I'm riding on board with him. He's keeping her on the island, no problem. Now the DRS is enabled, and that's usually a trigger for the driver to come into the pits. Through the first sector, he was 16.8 behind Amazed when he exited the pits. Through the first sector, he's still 16.8, now 16.7. So that now tells me now is the time to come into the pits, no doubt about it. And surprise, the race leader is not hanging about. He's coming straight into the pits, as will Leopard, and surely Jason, Martin, Pinecone, a lot of them will follow suit, and that is going to be really tight. And another battle between the pit crews, Justin.
I think Martin is far enough behind that he's not going to get affected. I mean, surely. So, I mean, Surprise is already out of the pit box. It would be ludicrous if Martin were to be held up for any sort of reason at this point. They should definitely have his tires ready for him. I'm going to stick with Martin though, as he does find his pit box. And it looked like a little bit of a hold there, if I'm not mistaken. He's definitely lost out there. Pinecone's gotten ahead of him. Yep, Pinecone's gotten ahead of Martin. Yeah, he was definitely behind. But Jason maintains that third place position. Incredible stuff. And where is Alonso? Actually, Alonso's coming down the start-finish straight. He is going to get past Bobberts, and he is going to be within 2 seconds of Martin. So actually, that was the right call from Alonso. Well, you know, we knew that when DRS was activated on lap 19. But yeah, Alonso has definitely made the right call, and that could be what saves his race. Unfortunately for him, though, he has that 3-second time penalty.
This SOR1 getting that 3-second time penalty, no doubt about it. He has certainly gained time, as you said, Justin, but you know, that's great news for Jason to have that little buffer of 1.2 seconds, but he's got 15 laps to hold on. This is where things will get tricky for Jason. We know he doesn't have the outright speed over race distance, but he is so strong at keeping on the island. But the problem now is that he's faced as Martin picks up a 3-second time penalty. That is going to hurt him quite significantly as well. But the problem Jason has is that now the other drivers will have DRS to attack him with, and that could make life pretty difficult for the McLaren driver. But you know, who knows? He's made of stern stuff. He likes to defend and hold his line. So let's keep an eye on it and see if Pinecone can get a run on him with that DRS, which is now active.
I think he will, to be honest. Pinecone is looking very strong. He's closed up to the back of that McLaren. He needs a good exit here. No, I think he's going to be too far back. He's had a bit of a wonky exit there out of the final corner as well. So he's definitely, and of course it isn't a very long straight, as Alonso does prove that he did make the right decision and sets the quickest lap of the race on his first full lap on the medium compound tires. And it is the medium compound tires for absolutely everybody except for LCR Mulder, who has actually opted for a set of soft compound tires to try and take him to the end of the race. I think they'll just about do that. P1R Brown in the other Williams getting the fastest lap, so it seems that both Williams cars going well at the moment, having stopped a little bit earlier compared to the top 5, just 1 lap earlier. Ditto for Franglish in the same sort of position as those guys. But yeah, Mulder down in the Toro Rosso, the only car still running that isn't in a points-paying position at the moment, opting for the soft compound. He's got an over 30-second gap to the next car, so you know, why not? He's just trying something. He's still out there racing, which I always love. I always love when people don't give up. It certainly doesn't look great for him at the moment with that kind of gap and everything, but he's not giving up. He's pushing on. He's hoping for the best. And I mean, one more retirement, and he picks up a championship point, which is infinitely more than if he had just retired from 11th position. So I'm glad LCR Mulder is continuing on. Let's see if Pinecone can get the exit that he needs out of that final corner, because really that is going to be his one and only opportunity. The consistency from Jason is gonna be such that that is the only time where I think Pinecone is going to have a shot at making the overtake. And if he's not too careful, he's going to have to start worrying about Martin behind him rather than Jason ahead of him. On the rundown towards the first corner, though, it looks like the McLaren is going to have the advantage as they get into the braking zone. And indeed, Jason maintains that position. And I really think Pinecone's going to need something seriously special here, or he's gonna have to hope for a mistake from Jason. And I would say Pinecone doing something special is the more likely scenario.
Jason ain't going to make a mistake, is he?
No.
He's like Evo, isn't he? He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't get penalties. But Evo, of course, so quick. But Jason, he's just like in the same mode. He's out of the same mode as Evo. He's just brilliant at just soaking up pressure and keeping it on the road and not making any errors. And as you say, Pinecone's going to have to come up with something very special. I'm also going to mention Pinecone and Jason, the only 2 drivers in the top 5 at the minute that don't even have a warning to their names. There you go.
Wow.
Neither of them with a warning, despite all the different conditions they've faced lap after lap, still not putting a foot wrong. Martin, of course, with a 3-second penalty. Alonso with a 3-second penalty. Bobberts, if he stays within 3 seconds of Alonso, is currently going to equal his best result this season of 6th, because he'll overtake Alonso. So there you go. That would be a good result for Bobberts if he can stay within range. The problem Bobberts has is he's 1 warning away from a 3-second time penalty. So that's the situation there. Surprising Leopard up front. I think they've got a couple of warnings each, or a warning each, or something like that. Nothing significant given the gaps that they have out front, even if they do start accumulating penalties, Justin.
Yeah, exactly right. So, yeah, it's a difficult position. Bobberts does seem it's actually closing in on Alonso, though. That's a gap I'm very interested in. He's almost got it down to 2 seconds flat. He's gotten it down to less than 2.2 between himself and Alonso. Alonso really hasn't closed down the gap to Martin at all. That gap is maintaining pretty much what it was ever since they switched over to the slick tires. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Because, of course, if Bobberts doesn't pick up a penalty, and again, he is 1 warning away, so that's a tall order, no doubt about it. But if he doesn't pick up any sort of penalties here, and he can get within 1 second of Alonso, he could be on for a 5th place finish again. Or not again, but he could be on for a 5th place finish here, which would be his, and so Alonso picked up a 3-second time penalty there, immediately followed by Bobberts. So Bobberts does still just need to remain within that 3 seconds of Alonso if he wants to pick up a 6th place position, but he's going to need Martin to pick up another 3-second time penalty if he wants to have any sort of hope at 5th, I think.
That's probably killed his hopes of gathering that 5th place, but certainly 6th still in the cars with what's happened there with Alonso just before he gathered it. But look at Pinecone this time round. Is he close enough? He's up in mode 4 as he heads down towards turn 1. I think he might fancy his chances here. Oh, he's the side better of it. And you know what, Justin, if that was lap 34 and not 24, I think he would have been sailing up the inside there. He's got time on his side. Pinecone knows that, and he isn't going to go rushing into anything that would lead to contact and jeopardise a potential podium.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I wouldn't expect him to put that on the line like that and risk that. But Pinecone is looking rather racy at the moment. We get that lovely shot of them coming up and over the crest for turn 4. Fantastic stuff. Pinecone right onto the back of that McLaren. I mean, he's just really hassling him. He doesn't need to worry about Martin, actually. Interestingly enough, he's actually broken the DRS to Martin, but now he's come up to the back of that McLaren. He can't get any closer to the back of Jason 97 F1 without making contact to him or without completely destroying his tires. So I'm half expecting Martin here to get within DRS range before they come onto the start-finish straight, but we'll see if he's actually able to manage that. The surprise puts in an 18.8. Very quick lap time from Veloce Surprise, who is holding on to that lead by 8 seconds. It's now almost 9 seconds between Leopard and Jason, and Leopard's actually gone a little bit quicker. It's not a massive difference. He dips down into the 118.7s. Here we go with Pinecone and Jason once again. Pinecone with the DRS off of that McLaren. Jason's going to go to the inside. He's going to go to defensive into turn 1. If Pinecone could go all the way around the outside, he'll get the inside line for 2. He tries to switch back, but no. Jason is right there, positioning his car exactly the way that he needs to. He goes again defensive on the rundown towards turn 2, staying to the inside line. He goes a bit deep, though. That's going to give Pinecone an opportunity as he swings back over to the left-hand side, around the outside, through turn 3 for Pinecone. They're side by side on the rundown towards turn 4. Outside for Jason. Can he be late enough on the brakes? Yes, he can. He maintains that position ahead of Pinecone, just barely, though. Fantastic racing from both of them.
From both of them, but particularly Jason, especially through turn 1. I mean, as you said, Justin, you said it live, he couldn't have positioned that any better. It was exactly where he needed to be, halted Pinecone from getting the drive he needed out of the first corner. And then Jason, he made a mistake in turn 2, but no, he just wasn't going to give that up. Left Pinecone just enough room on the exit of 3, and then he powered up the hill and maintained that place. But, you know, great racing between them. What we love to see here in AOR, will it continue on the next lap? Because, as we said, Jason rarely makes mistakes. It's going to have to be something special from Pinecone, and it nearly was. Not quite, though. What about this time round? As we go on to lap 26 out of 35, round the final corner. Is Pinecone going to be close enough this time round? He's a little bit further back this time, I think, as Jason parks it in the middle of the road, and Pinecone comes closer and closer, but Jason covers the inside. Pinecone's going to try the outside, then switch back again. He's got the benefit of the DRS. He flicks it open. Jason covers the inside line, switching back to the outside as Pinecone tries to run around the outside, but Jason puts his car in a position that says you're going to get run out of road if you go there. Now, down the hill they go, sweeping up to the end of the first sector. Jason's going to have the line, and Pinecone, again, can do nothing. Great defending again from the McLaren man, who's turning in what could potentially be a driver of the day performance. Awesome job from him. Then again, you've got to talk about the top two. They've been in a league of their own. We've barely seen them this afternoon, especially Veloci Surprise out front. But this is what it's all about, as Jason continues to defend hard. And now Martin has joined the group, only half a second off them, Justin.
Yeah, I have to say a big apology to Surprise and Leopard, but this is far more interesting than whatever you two are doing. Alonso as well, getting him within 1 second of Martin, actually. Bobberts has been slowly closing in on Alonso. He's found a couple of tenths since we last checked in on him. He's almost got that down to less than 2 seconds. We've got yellow flags out in Sector 2, Sector 3. I wonder who that's for. Was that for Amazed or Franglish or Brown? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Oh, that's a big moment for Pinecone coming out of the final corner. The back end just trying to step out on him. He's got the DRS off of Jason 97 F1, but I think that mistake at the exit of the final corner is going to allow Jason to hold on to that final podium position for the meantime. But yeah, that was a fantastic battle between Jason and Pinecone on the previous lap. What I really liked about it was Pinecone tried the exact same moves, only that time Jason didn't make the mistake into turn 2 like he did on the previous lap, so it worked even less for Pinecone. And then Pinecone thought, because they were closer coming out of turn 3, he thought maybe I'll have a go in turn 4. But again, Jason just positioning that car perfectly. It was just as you described it, and he was positioning it perfectly, saying, you know, if you really want to go side by side here, you're probably going to regret it. You know, he left space. He's being firm but fair. And that's why I love Jason as a racer so much. You know, he may not be a title contender or anything like that. He may not have all the accolades of some of the other drivers that have come through the AOR Xbox One League, but he remains one of my all-time favorite drivers because of stuff like that, because of the way that he defends and yet shows respect as well too. It's absolutely incredible.
Exactly. It was so clear what he was doing in turn 2. It was like the body language of the car was so set up that it was like, Pinecone, I'm going to let you know early on, if you want to go around the outside there, it isn't going to happen. But here we go this time. Jason defending the outside. Pinecone switching to the inside. Oh, he's found something special, and he's finally done it, has he? Jason can defend no more. Pinecone with a late switch across the road to dive up the inside and through. Now Martin fancies getting involved. There's a swipe there. Jason takes a bit of contact, but Martin also swoops through. But wowee, that was epic from CRG Pinecone, catching Jason unawares. He found a line down the inside and took third place away. Epic stuff. Martin up to 4th, but at the cost of a time penalty and amongst all that. Jason down to 5th.
Did I just see a drop of rain?
No, surely not.
I could have sworn I just saw a drop of rain. that would be the icing on the cake if that were to actually happen. Holy cow. But I don't know if you noticed Andy Martin picking up another 3-second time penalty in all of that. And again, Jason doesn't have any. So at the moment, Jason is still in 4th position once you factor in penalties and all of that kind of stuff. Surprise has already started lap 29, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he has. So these guys are just coming to the end of lap 28. So 7 laps still to go for Jason 97 F1. 6 seconds worth of penalties on the Alfa Romeo of TRL Martin up ahead of him. I don't know if he's actually going to be keen on trying to make that overtake, as Pinecone has actually extended the gap to Martin by over a second, but Martin was just about within range as they got into that DRS detection zone at the end of lap 28, and he has made it. Oh, that was lap 28. Okay, I apologize. No, that's what I said before. But Martin did get the DRS. He just about managed to keep within 1 second of Pinecone, but I have a feeling here that Pinecone... Oh, Leopard picks up a 3-second time penalty. That should mean absolutely nothing for this race. He's 12 seconds behind Surprise and 9 seconds ahead of Pinecone, so that really shouldn't have any sort of effect whatsoever. But yeah, that was impressive stuff from Pinecone to pull that gap. And look at it, he's just continuing to pull that gap. It's now 0.3 of a second, despite Martin getting the DRS in Sector 1. Really impressive stuff here from Pinecone. I don't think he's going to... I mean, he's certainly not going to be able to overhaul... let's see, he's essentially 6 seconds behind Leopard right now. 6 laps to go. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Pinecone's a quick driver. I don't think he's a second a lap quicker than Leopard, though.
Not going to happen for Pinecone. He's finally got the job done, though. We did say it would take something special, and it was inventive. It was
special.
Unaware, and he dived up the inside. Jason, by that point, couldn't move across because Pinecone was already there, and he made a lovely move. And now Jason's under threat from Alonso, who's right behind him. Jason, thankfully, though, has got the DRS to Martin in front to use in defence. His Surprise now gathers a 3-second time penalty of his own. They've been trading fastest laps. Oh, look at Alonso up the inside on Jason into turn 1, trying to catch him out, and he forces his way through Jason out onto the AstroTurf, and Alonso takes P5 on the road. It won't remain that because, of course, he has time penalties. But wow, Jason there wouldn't have liked that one. Elbows out from Alonso. Through he went up into 5th place, as I was saying up front. Trading fastest laps, and now they're trading penalties, Justin.
Yeah, exactly right. Anything you can do, I can do better. But yeah, Jason essentially still holding on to 4th place position. He just needs to keep within 6 seconds of Martin. And Alonso only has 3 seconds for the penalties, or does he have 6 as well? I'm struggling to remember now. I know he's got 3, but I think he might have 6. I'm not entirely sure on that one.
I'll have a look, Justin. Let me just tell you right now. Veloci Alonso has got 2 penalties. So
okay.
6 seconds left to go.
And Boberts has picked up a second 3-second time penalty as well. So Boberts has gotten within 2 seconds of Jason. He's 1.8 seconds adrift of the McLaren as it stands right now. But again, he's got 6 seconds worth of penalties. Alonso's got 6 seconds worth of penalties. Martin's got 6 seconds worth of penalties. So Jason at the moment is looking good for a 4th place finish. He just needs to finish within 6 seconds of whoever finishes in 4th, essentially. Whether that be Martin or Alonso, it really doesn't matter to him at this point. He's going to be on for 12 championship points and very nearly another podium. And I have to say, this really has been a standout season for Jason. He's missed a few races. He hasn't been here for every single race. As Alonso's gone a bit deep into turn 2, it could be an opportunity for Jason, but probably not. Again, he's not very much of a risk taker, so I'm not surprised that Jason didn't just try to send one up the inside there. Stays back for the meantime. But yeah, it is going to be another fantastic points haul for Jason 97 F1. Again, it's not another podium, but this, I have to say, I think this has been one of the most impressive seasons for him.
Justin, I think one thing we have got to touch on is Franglish picks up a 3-second time penalty. I think what it is, so many drivers are quick. It's hard to be quick. It's a lot of it's talent, but so many drivers do not have the ability to just be so consistent, so clear-minded, and so calculated. And Jason is so good at it. He's absolutely amazing at it. I wish I could be like that, because when I was a league racer, don't get me wrong, I was never quick. I've never raced in a top tier. But when I used to race, I was never quick. But I would just love to have that gift of being able to bring it home every week, in the points, clear mind. And if you can do that, you'll get the odd victory. You'll get the odd strong podium. And that's what I'd always love to have been like as a league racer, because I never had the pace. And Jason's got that, and it's brilliant. And I can see why you warm to him, Justin, because it's so entertaining to watch. It's just so professional, the way he drives. It's brilliant.
Incredible stuff that we're seeing here today. Really fantastic. Enjoying this race. It hasn't been action-packed as far as like overtake. I mean, there's been plenty of overtakes, but we've been to obviously tracks throughout this season that have been much more promoting of overtaking, and Hungary isn't the best as far as overtakes are concerned. But the stuff that we have seen has been so quality. I've really enjoyed the side-by-side moments, the action that we've been seeing. And just the drives that we've been seeing as well. It's a bit of a shame that we don't have that kind of battle going on for the lead of the race. Again, it is 13.6 seconds. Oh, a rare 3-second time penalty for Jason 97 F1. Now, again, Martin and Alonso have 6 seconds worth of penalties, so he is still on for a 4th place finish as things stand right now. But yeah, that's a bit of a strange one. Maybe he knows that they have 6 seconds worth of penalties, and he's just pushing that little harder to try and keep up to the back of them, knowing that if he picks up a 3-second time penalty, that it's not necessarily going to be such a bad thing, considering they have 6 seconds ahead of him. But I'll tell you one thing here. Martin and Alonso is maybe the battle that we need to be focusing on now, because they are level on penalties, and Alonso is all over the back of that Alfa Romeo. And that would essentially be for 5th place. So that'd be a top 5 finish in Alonso's first race back to the AOR Xbox One F1 League, which would be a solid result for him. I'm sure he would have preferred a podium or a race win or something like that, but that would be a solid return to the league for Sonic Saltunk. But yeah, at the moment, he's still behind Martin. He's only got 2 laps, really, 2 and a bit laps remaining in order for him to try and change that. Also, I did see earlier, I think ESR Amazed disconnecting, if I'm not mistaken about that. So I think Mulder is on for a point now.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. Perhaps he did, perhaps he didn't. I never caught it. There's been so many things flashing up. I'll have a look down and have a look at his card. Yes, he has disconnected.
Yeah, it's ghosted.
It's ghosted. So Mulder will get that, despite the fact that Mulder has pitted 5 times. He's going to get a point. That's it. Yes, look at this then. Alonso behind Martin on lap 34 out of 35. Here we go then, down towards turn 1. Is Alonso going to make this move? It looks like it. Straight down the inside he goes, and he's going a little bit too deep, way too deep. And Martin, is he going to come back through? No, he's not. Alonso was so deep into the corner that he got a great exit. And now look at Jason fancying his chances. Down the inside he goes now on Martin, and he takes the place away. And that will pretty much seal Alonso in 5th, Martin in 6th, and Jason in 4th place.
Wow, I really did not see that coming. I was so focused on Martin that I didn't see Jason coming up the inside into turn 2. Impressive stuff. Jason now is the one getting his elbows out and showing them that he has what it takes. He's, and he is on the same pace as these guys. We mentioned earlier when he was leading the train of cars from 3rd position. I said that he was the slowest one, but I think it's very marginal. I don't think it's a huge difference. And I will say, towards the end of the race is really when Jason, I think, sort of comes alive, because he's always been so good at taking care of his tires and just making sure that he has a little bit of rubber still to play with at the end of the race, as we see TRL Martin with a big lockup into the penultimate corner, and that's possibly going to put him too far behind Jason in order to think about making an overtake into turn 1 as they round the final corner to start the final lap of this Hungarian Grand Prix. Jason does have the DRS open. DRS is open as well for TRL Martin. He's going to be way too far back. Jason gets pretty close to the Williams under braking for turn 1, but he's not quite close enough. Let's see if he can get him. Alonso with a bad exit coming out of turn 1, actually. Jason with a fairly decent one. DRS is open, but he's not going to be able to find the inside line into turn 2. Alonso's a little bit wide there, though, but again, Jason can't quite find the way through. Stays in 5th position for the meantime, but again, he is running fewer penalties than the cars ahead and behind him, so he really doesn't need to make that overtake, so I'm not surprised that we didn't see Jason go for that move. I don't think he's going to be able to make the move in Sector 2 either, so I think potentially we should probably switch over to Veloce Surprise, have a look at the other Alfa Romeo for the first time in a long time in this race. As he rounds the corner, it is going to be another victory for our championship leader. Surprise comes across the line to win in Hungary, and it's another fantastic and dominant display from the current championship leader. In 2nd position, it is going to be Leopard. He picked up a 3-second time penalty, as did Surprise, but it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Wow, Pinecone actually got within about 5 seconds of Leopard, though. That is incredible. You have to wonder what could have been for Pinecone, as Jason now makes the move for 4th. What? What has just happened? I completely missed that move. That must have happened in turn 13. And they're side by side between Alonso and Martin as they cross the line. Jason is going to claim 4th position on track. He didn't even need the penalties. That's incredible.
Wow, I don't know how he's managed to find a way through there, but nonetheless he has. I only caught the tail end of it, Justin. It caught me by complete surprise as well. That is astonishing stuff from Jason as he gets that 4th place in the end. But look at the gap between Alonso and Martin at less than a 1/10 of a second. That's getting on towards Hamilton-Gasly kind of gap from the Grand Prix earlier on today. That's astonishing between those two. But yeah, what a performance from Jason in 4th place in the end. No podium. Great pace, as you said then, from Pinecone, because he was the only man out there who didn't have a time penalty. He got within 2 seconds in the end almost.
It was crazy.
Of incredible pace for CRG Pinecone. But, there's only one man we can talk about today, and 15.7 seconds he won by Veloci Surprise. I mean, I hate being boring, but he's got to be the driver of the day today. It's astonishing.
It's a tough call between him and Jason and Pinecone for me, actually, because while Pinecone did kind of get stuck behind for a little bit, when he did make that move finally, that was something. That was something special. That was really exciting to watch. That was F1 esports levels of stuff. And again, these are future stars of F1 esports. Let's not beat around the bush on that one. Pinecone, Surprise, all of these guys are gonna be in F1 esports at some point. Leopard probably will too. Alonso's already been in F1 esports. So I mean, that was seriously some stuff. And look, it is raining. So I think I did actually see a drop of rain earlier on. I don't think I was wrong about that, but yeah, I think it's a 3-way split for me. I can't choose between Surprise, Pinecone, and Jason. I mean, Surprise doing surprise things, winning by almost 16 seconds, absolutely incredible. But again, that fight back from Pinecone to nearly catch up to Leopard, that's some seriously impressive stuff. But Alonso does get that top 5 finish, finishing less than a 10th ahead of TRL Martin in the end. SSR Bobbert's a solid result, 7th position. He didn't crash out or anything like that, though. Like, that's now what I want to, this is the new benchmark for Bobberts, in my opinion. I want to see him picking up 7th place finishes. That's what's going to build his confidence. That's what's going to eventually lead to him getting faster and all that kind of stuff. So good race from Bobberts. I'd like to see more of that from him. P1R Brown picks up 4 championship points, then is Franglish. And then again, Amaze disconnected, so I believe Mulder is going to claim that final championship point.
Well, I've just got to say, Justin, the rain at the end of the race, the game's too realistic. It's like every Formula One race. It rained after the Grand Prix. Yeah, to be fair, we did have rain at the start, though, didn't we? But yeah, you can't split the 3. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Surprise. I really am. I mean, I thought to win by 15.7 seconds, it's just a great job from him. But yeah, it's a shame that Pinecone never got that move earlier, perhaps. We would have maybe seen a bit more fireworks. But actually, Pinecone's battle with Jason was what was the most exciting part of the race. So, at the same time, it was good to watch that, wasn't it? So, yeah, Pinecone had maybe had a better opening stint in the race. He could have caused a few problems further up at the front of the field. So, yeah, strong pace from him. But, yeah, really enjoyed that one, Justin. It was a strategic battle with the weather and getting it right, and then it was a real scrap for that final podium place, which of course kept us all entertained as well. But yeah, I enjoyed that one. Decent for a Hungarian race. It's not a track where you associate a lot of action, but there was plenty today to keep everyone's appetite, wasn't there?
Yeah, I love the mixed conditions, of course, but again, it wasn't about the quantity of overtakes and battles today. It was about the quality of overtakes and battles that we saw today that really separate that race from others that we've seen this season. I mean, that was really, really impressive stuff. And we did it without a full roster as well, too. We didn't even have OMG It's Joe. I mean, that could have just added even more spice to it. Martin as well, I think, was a little bit off compared to what we've seen recently from the second Alfa Romeo driver. We've seen him kind of returning to form a little bit, but then unfortunately today, making those mistakes, picking up 6 seconds worth of time penalties, losing out on that top 5 finish right at the end there to Alonso. It was a tough one out there for him today, for sure. But yeah, as you said, Surprise really just on a whole other level. I mean, that was really shocking, to be totally honest. He won by a quarter of a minute. And that's in a 50% distance race. Imagine if it had been 100%. So yeah, seriously impressive stuff from a lot of drivers out there today. I have to say I really enjoyed that. Oh, and my weird frame drops stopped happening, I think, pretty quickly after the start of the race as well, too. So it was all smooth sailing from the broadcast side of things as well, too, once we actually got going in the actual race and all that kind of stuff. So, wow, that was an exciting one. I really enjoyed that. Again, I couldn't pick a driver of the day, but purely because Andy picked surprise, we're going to go with surprise for driver of the day because, I mean, why wouldn't you? That really was something else.
Absolutely crazy. Great job from him. And you know, as I mentioned earlier on, what we've seen from him before, well, you've certainly seen from him. Well, you've been commentating in the F1 esports. You know, it just shows it again, like he did in Japan and Belgium. When he's at the front, and he's starting on pole in the wet conditions, he just seems to pull away, and he goes into a different league, doesn't he? It's astonishing. So hats off to him, and he's opened out that gap in the championship to what, 43 points now, I think, 43 points over Leopard. So, yeah, things looking very, very strong as we head to the next race. Justin, 2 classics on the calendar next, Belgium and Italy. We'll be looking forward to those ones, won't we?
Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun. I am very much looking forward to those things. So, yeah, that's going to do it for today's broadcast, though. I want to say a big thank you, of course, to all of the drivers for putting on a fantastic show, all of the viewers for tuning in and joining us for what was an absolutely thrilling Hungarian Grand Prix for the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform, Season 18. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next week, right? Yeah. I don't think there's any more break weeks for a while now. So we will be back next week for the Belgian Grand Prix. Thanks, of course, to Andy, my co-commentator, for joining me, and we hope to see you guys next week. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.